the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
I can't. The exit minimal video and the one that they don't work.
Do you want me to restart the call? The Zoom call?
Don't work. Hold on.
Stand
Through my
target.
gigantic scientific mind, I found something in the preference pane to exit the minimal window.
Okay.
Even though the quick buttons didn't work.
So
And
you
that,
can-
ladies and gentlemen, is the beginning of the podcast. We begin the podcast with technical difficulties.
Of course.
Bye, Noel.
Bye, Noel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Biofriendly Podcast. I am Jacob.
I'm Noel.
And this, if I'm pointing to the right window,
I don't know. Is he not below? No,
he's
not.
over here to me. This is like
See,
right over here.
I get it. We're all different.
Exactly. No, this is Michael Carroll, our special guest for today's episode.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
You guys have known each other for a while, I think, right?
For those of you who are not familiar, I often in the show, more than once, have referenced the legend of my brother Michael, and we thought, you know what? Since we've got to start getting guests again, what better guinea pig to put here to try to make this audio system work
100%.
than my very own amazing, talented big brother Mike? So Michael Carroll, is here, and
I've only had to put up with Noel for all of his life, but I did have a good 4 years where it was nice and calm and relaxing. So.
Mike breaks his life into two parts: the 4 good years and the 41 bad ones.
BN and AN.
Bad ones, more ones.
Yes. No, Noel speaks the truth. We were like, well, we need to have guests on the show. We need to bring podcast guests back. But what happens if it goes totally awry? Nothing works, and it's humiliating and embarrassing, which it did. And thank goodness Mike doesn't care. Or at least that's what he tells us.
Yeah, I mean, not publicly.
Not publicly. Like later, boy, we're going to.
Oh, yeah. Post meeting, I'm going to whip you guys a new one. Yeah.
Good. Well, for those watching, we have the Zoom call going. So we have our first 3 windows, which is exciting, in our Brady Bunch layout here, which is cool. If we ever have a nice sizable group of guests, we can have a total Brady Bunch opening here. But today, I don't know. You want to know? You could give some background on Mike.
Yes. So Michael Carroll is a engineer and scientist and inventor, and also just a very knowledgeable person in tons of random topics. But when it comes to the environment, Mike has more data forgotten than most of us will have, which is really great. And Mike is the founder of Helios Altas, which is a company that created the Powerball. And for those of you who aren't aware, a Powerball is Mike will tell you more about it, but basically it provides energy to places that have never seen it, like villages in jungles in the middle of nowhere, where they light their life with by kerosene lamps, are getting power now because of this company, because of what Mike's doing. And Mike has a kind of a cool, specific bit of knowledge regarding sustainable energy, which I thought maybe the fans of Biofriendly Podcast will want to hear. So, Mike, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a thing we call the bummer run on our show, which is where we get anything get tough stuff out of the way and whatever else. And we've been generally using that for the quarantine at the moment. And I think it's relevant just to see
something going on. It might be a bummer.
Yeah.
No. There's nothing happening right now. Nothing is out of the ordinary, and it's just as it always was.
We're fine. So what I think we would like to open up with, Mike, is to know how you are holding up in this quarantine and how things are in Northern California. How's the family? What's going on with all that? You guys hanging in up there?
Yeah, we're holding up quite well here. It's I think it's a little easier for us up here than you guys in the cities. So we're kind of in the suburbs, but we're countryside adjacent. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot fewer people here, a lot more space. Right. They only just shut down the state parking lots for going hiking and stuff this last year.
Really? So you've been hiking this whole time?
So I've been hiking this whole time, and
So jealous.
So so we've actually been doing pretty well. The kids at home becoming, teachers, and obviously appreciating how amazing our teachers are. Now we're having to fill in, and obviously we've seen the million memes about how your own kids drive you crazy, and of course that's true with us too. Love you all, girls. Sorry.
We love you. We love you, though. We love you.
It is well known on this podcast how much we love Michael's daughters.
Yes.
They're the best.
But we're doing great. We're doing great. So and that I just have to comment on that one. But that's a very American thing that I've been taking around the world with me as well. When I do that to people, they look at me like, "Well, what do you mean, yeah or no?" So which way are you going with this?
No.
It is a California thing, and I see it all the time.
That's funny. I had never picked up on the fact that we do that constantly.
All the time. And you flip them and they have different meanings. So that's the most exciting thing about that.
Because you go, no, yeah.
You can go, no, yeah, but, or you can do, yeah, no, but.
Training myself to not do that because I do a lot of traveling, where I used to do a lot of traveling internationally. So I kind of caught I did that, which I hadn't done in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's funny.
I saw it somewhere online. Somebody had taken that. It was the text, and it said no, yeah, and then it had what that meaning was, and then yeah, no, and what that meaning was, and then somebody did yeah, no, and then no, yeah. They went like so many levels of it. And I was like, I actually would understand all of those.
I totally do.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've all been indoctrinated.
That is hilarious.
That is really funny.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting with the teaching aspect of it, like to see both how teachers are figuring it out to get their Zoom meetings going, or use Google Meet or these different things to get their classrooms. Like I remember just looking in the background and seeing, in a class, and there's like 30 kids sitting on a Zoom with one poor teacher. And I was like, wow. Into context, what these teachers are dealing with. For them, it's just normally they're in a room dealing with that, but now it's just on a screen.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to see how we're surviving that. How I think pretty well for the most case, most teachers are pulling it together, and how parents need to give themselves a break a little bit. Don't you think? I think parents are giving themselves too hard of a time right now on the teaching of their kids. Your kids are doing fine. Their lives aren't gonna end because you aren't as good at teaching as the teachers.
Yeah.
Do your best. You're doing fine.
I found the teachers are adjusting. One of my daughters, the teacher was like full on, hey, we even have extra hours, we're doing more. And another teacher was like, it fell completely off. Spring break, it's sort of, they both kind of, one's mellowed out and one's picked it up, and they've kind of found their equilibrium where they need to be. So
that's funny.
It's all learning. Yeah,
it's a funny journey. I know I'm curious as to how creative high schoolers, the older kids are. My kids are also young, but I would imagine if you're 17, 18 years old and you're about to graduate and you're doing Zoom classes, you would get so good at like cardboard cutouts of your head and all the clever ways that you're in class and you're definitely not in class,
What percentage of high school kids
for sure
are sneaking out at nighttime from their homes?
I've wondered.
To not socially distance at all with their
friends. Because I think about where my headspace would be at 17, 18 years old, and it would really have been a hard, time to say you can't leave and you have to hang out with your parents all the time.
Yeah. You probably haven't seen him in 6 weeks because you've been hanging out with your friends the whole time.
Right. It's funny. Oh, man. Well, I have some cool images that are ready at any point that Mike is ready to dig into some of what his product does.
Well, let's start there. Tell people about the Powerball, Mike. Let us know what you're up to.
Love to get into it. Maybe just a slight little background. So I have a background in energy. Actually, really, a lot of it's in oil and gas, working upstream. So producing oil and helping enhance production so they can actually get oil out of the ground a lot easier. And then on the downstream, in terms of helping to develop fuel additives, which is what Biofriendly does, to reduce emissions. And so both things are, in the green space of, helping on that side. with it, I've traveled the world. I've been to virtually everywhere you can go. And I've seen, how lucky, particularly in the US, how we have it, and seeing how people lived without, in severe poverty, in these places where they just don't have power or have anything really. So that was a lot of my motivation, was I'd always wanted to find something that was renewable, that you could actually help these people out. And so, I came across this technology through a mutual friend, and helped them to design and develop it. And it's a water wheel. So it's let me throw up a.
I've got one right here. Boom.
Yeah, so that picture. Hey.
Hey.
So
Jacob is live from the water wheel.
I'm here. Wait, let me wash my hands with the water wheel. Oh, keeping clean. Keeping clean.
So for those of you who are listening and not watching, there is a picture of a wheel that is in a canal, and water is causing it to spin.
And so what these are suspended, all the generations on the inside, so they can move around as the water flow changes, as the water levels rise and drop. And what's really special about this is, with producing power from water like this, water is 800 times more dense than air. So there's a lot of energy in it. Right. And we can actually produce power out of very thin flows of water with the way we've done this. And so that essentially one of our water wheels, the footprint it's about less than a tenth of what, or it's about a 20th of what a similarly sized solar power system would be to produce the same amount of power.
That's
so
incredible.
The footprint is much smaller.
Yeah.
And you need just a lot less ground coverage. So what the idea, the big grand picture of this is we can put these in canals in series and produce up to megawatts of power with larger wheels. Another one of our big targets is actually these remote areas that I was talking about. So the overall numbers are, which often surprises people, there's about 1 billion people in the world that don't have power. So
wow.
1 in 6 people in the world don't have power. So
that is
another interesting fact about that is, if you don't have power, well, you need a lot of water to survive. So about 90% of these people live in tropical regions in Asia and Africa and Latin America, around that central belt where all the tropics are. So there's high rainfall there, and solar actually does not work as well there because the humidity, the cloud cover, everything else, it's just not quite as efficient.
Isn't there tree coverage too from the jungle?
Tree coverage, and so the idea being that footprint as well, right? So you need a huge footprint to produce the same size solar. So now you got to cut down rainforests just to put your solar in for that footprint.
Yeah.
So with our system in that particular application, we can actually provide power at about half the price already, without going to scale and marketing, or scaling up and producing our units, than what solar and batteries can do right now.
And you save the rainforest in the process.
And then you reduce the rainforest usage and everything else. Sorry, I'm putting my headphones
It's okay.
out.
There's one thing
do this all the time. You don't even know. Half of the time this podcast is done in silence because one of us has turned off our microphone or knocked something.
Yeah.
So it's Jacob's put up another picture here. So we have actually done this. These are kids from a village where we put power into, and you can see on the bottom, if you can see the pictures, we've designed the unit so 2 people can actually carry this in, through a path through the village to the forest to set this up. So we put in 2 of our units. We did do a couple of solar panels. Does help a little bit during the daytime, but it's literally 2 panels, and we actually use that as a roof to cover all of our power and our electronics that manage the system. And so that's been running for over 18 months, providing power to 10 homes, 10 huts.
There was a video that you released around then where you were showing people studying with light and in tears for the first time. I thought was so powerful.
Yeah.
Is that something still available to see, or is it?
There is.
Like an internal thing?
So you can actually on our website, heliosaltas.com, you can actually see the video there, or YouTube. We've got a few videos there of that particular one, but you can see the video of the project and what we did and the people that we helped, and actually firsthand reporting and recounting from the locals. So it was a really neat project, and just amazing. Yeah, Noel's saying there's kids now studying, and just living a better life. You know, they were able to actually get refrigeration, so now they can have medicine. There was extra power, so we actually put in a water pump. So now the kids and everybody don't have to carry water from the river back up to the village. We actually just pump the water up to the village, so they've got it there ready to go.
That's amazing.
Our next step is actually want to raise that up about 10 feet. I could put a low pressure water filter, a UV light, and we can purify and clean the water for them for like, a couple $100, and that would be it. So
that's amazing.
It's
well, we will make sure to share that video on our social medias so that people can, share the link to your site so that people can see it. Cause I think that would be a really, really cool thing for people to witness. And I can see this is for me, my view is it's reversed, but it says Philippines, right? This is from,
yes. So this was done in the Philippines. We've got a project going in now in Malaysia, one in Indonesia. We have 2 units going to Nigeria in Africa, and then we've actually just been approached by Brazil. So we'll have some systems going into Brazil as well soon. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
I have to do a tangent once you're ready to go. No, I've got a tangent. I have to do it because it's tangential. But
tangential thing. I've heard about this.
Yeah. You've heard about what we do, but I want Noel to say his thing.
But worth it. Not anymore. That was last year. This year, we're not worth it.
Oh, what? Oh, no. I got to go.
No, there's something that we push a lot in Biofriendly, and that I think this really relates to that I've always found very exciting. And it's that you've got, just because technology went through what it went through in terms of like older technologies that create more pollution or create more problems, doesn't mean that because this is so well said. God, I'm on fire right now. It does not mean that.
Just keep going, Noel. It's very
falling
clear.
Out of my mouth like someone's farting out of it. So places that don't have kind of these really developed technologies, these new technologies, new power, new energy, new vehicles, new everything, right? Just because there was a process that the developed world had to go through to get to that, doesn't mean, I figured it out. Yeah. Doesn't mean that that developing countries have to go through that same process. Like they can skip all of those steps and go straight to the better option. And that's one other thing about this that's exciting is these villages have never seen power, but the power they're getting in the first place is clean and it's renewable.
Right. They don't have to tear something down to rebuild again, which so many of us have to.
Completely environmentally sound, right? Yeah. Like they're skipping straight to it. Yeah. That excites me about the planet. I don't know if that drives you, little Mike, on what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, cell phones, like in Africa and a lot of these countries, they didn't have landlines. They went straight to cell phones. And very similar to what we'll do with our systems and what solar and batteries is going to do with their systems. Once the batteries improve more, they're improving dramatically,
right.
Even compared to 3-4 years ago, they're improving amazingly.
We talk about that a lot on here about the value that people don't quite, the people who complain about batteries, they don't understand the value in investing in that, right? Even in the Powerball or many other technologies, right? It's like by investing in those technologies, anything that could not be optimal about that can be improved because there's money there now, right? And the natural goal is to be more efficient, to make a better product, have something that lasts longer, it's better to sell, that works better. Yeah. And that's where we're headed. Yeah. But I believe I cut off a tangent.
Oh no, you can never cut off a tangent. They just show up out of the blue. No, it was because I was there in the Philippines. For those watching, I had the thing in the Philippines, and that was the first time I've ever been in the Philippines. But 3 years ago, there was a guy from California, a guy that the only thing that we shared was our ethnicity and beard. We both had beards, and he was also a fellow white dude. Okay. He got lost in the Philippines, and he was living on the streets, and he was from California, and his name was Jacob Givens.
Well, so you had more than in common than just your
yes, we had the name. We had the name in common, but in appearance-wise, if you were to look at an image of him, I would be like, we don't look alike at all, but we do share the same name. And so for about 2 months straight, I got contacted by every citizen in the Philippines on social media asking me if I was okay and if I had returned home to California. And it just kept going. It was insane. I would get a message every other day from someone in the Philippines being like, please, sir, I saw that you were stranded and I just want to make sure you got home. And I initially engaged, and I would write back and be like, it's actually not me. We share the same name. Yes, we live in California, but it's not me. And that was the biggest mistake I made, was starting that dialogue to go back. Because then I had like 1,500 Filipino friends messaging me and asking me if I made it back home. So that was I've never been to the Philippines in real life, but once the image was behind me, I was like, hey, Jacob Gibbons in the Philippines.
That is classic Jacob, to get the love and support of too many people for something you never did.
That I never did. I wasn't there. It wasn't me. And no matter how many times I tried to explain that because we had the same name, we were white dudes with beards, we were not in fact the same person. So anyway, that was my tangential, but worth it.
They are very friendly in the Philippines. I've spent quite a lot of time there. And, that is one thing, traveling the world. I mean, people around the world are really friendly and really caring like that and everywhere.
Yeah. It was incredibly thoughtful. It even happened because the person who took the photo was a Filipino, like musician. He was a famous, well-known guy, and he was in some main part of the city. And he took a photo of this guy, and he was feeding him, because he was being very generous and caring. And he took a photo, and he uploaded this image on his social media, and he had hundreds of thousands of, audiences that, of Filipino fans that adored this guy. And so he's like, please help me track this guy down. So they all just in droves were like, we found him. Jacob Gibbons in California. He's right here.
So my wife, while this tangent's going, let's keep it rocking.
Let's keep it rocking.
My wife, she's an actress, and she was in a movie. It was a Lifetime movie, right?
Yeah.
And the Lifetime movies, it's The Nanny is Watching, right? Yeah. You know how Lifetime movies, like there's always some like goes too far and then you have to murder the thing to save them. So The Nanny was played by a Filipina like rock star, like literally, like she was a musician, a pop star, very famous, millions of followers on Twitter, very huge in the Philippines. Yeah. And Talia played the character who was the mom, and this girl played the nanny.
Right.
Talia kills her in the movie.
Oh no!
Kills her in the movie, and now she is like enemy number one of the people in the Philippines because she killed their star. She killed their movie star.
She's on most wanted posters in every tavern in the Philippines. I love it. I love that Talia and I can bond over we never went there, but we somehow are the most famous people in the Philippines.
Totally.
Anyway,
I should wear a shirt and I go there next time saying, "This is my sister-in-law."
Yes, yeah.
This is my sister, and then on the back have a picture. I know
Jacob Gibbons is home.
Please, it's so good. It's so good. In a lot of ways, it's like renewable energy.
It is.
So anyway, back to what we were talking about.
So, and Mike, did you have any? Just before we move on to the next topic, is there anything else on the Powerball or what?
Yeah, I have.
That you wanted to.
I have this other image that he gave me that kind of shows it out of the water, kind of the mechanics of it right there.
Yeah, it shows it out of the water. You can hang it over a little bridge like that or a little structure. It's actually very simple. You can see the counterweight there that holds it in, so you get all the energy out of the water and. It's been a really, really neat project. And I do need to do a shout out to our partner, Hunting Energy, who has been helping us design this as well and part of our engineering team. So it's been an interesting project. So we've got a Italian engineer in Italy, Giovanni Petrozzini. Quick little tangential story.
Great name.
We love tangents.
I love that name too.
So he's an expert in water wheels. He's built, has operating water wheels all over Europe. And apparently his water pump broke down after 400 years in Italy. And so they called him up to fix it. It was Leonardo da Vinci's water pump, wooden water pump. It only broke down after 400 years.
400 years?
Yeah.
That guy knew how to build.
That guy was a G.
Wow.
A serious
Straight
G.
up.
Yeah.
He made a pump 400 years ago that just broke down.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Oh my gosh.
Well, that tells you.
Yeah.
That tells you right there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Everything you need to know about Leonardo da Vinci in one story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's rad. That's great.
Yeah.
So beyond water wheels, there's actually, well, if we stick with water for a second, how similar is your technology to what would be used in a dam?
Watch your mouth, Noel.
Yeah, so ours is a little different than what you use in a dam. And dam, you obviously back the water up, you put the water in a pipe, and you get a lot of elevation. So you get a lot of pressure, which then you can focus through a nozzle on a turbine. So it's it is a more efficient way of producing power. And, dams are critical. I know they're not very well liked. But for our day and age, with global warming and global change, we have these stages of huge amounts of water and these long periods of, dry times. So, we need to be able to, catch the water when there's lots of water coming, so we're not flooding areas out, and also store more water for those dry times. So it's, they're really important, but our system is different. In that way, where we don't need really any civil structures at all. In a lot of cases, what's really unique about our technology is we can actually go into canals and waterways that are existing that just aren't being used. The energy is already there and they're just not using it. So that was also a lot of the idea, is just how can we take advantage of all this energy that nobody's using, and how can we produce power from it? So it's kind of the difference between what we're doing and what they're doing. So if that makes sense. Yep.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's
so
amazing.
On the hydro,
there's another thing just on the hydro too, where we're talking about this, so people get an idea. Our dams are really critical for our power grid. So it is the one way right now we have, outside of gas turbines, where if there's a problem with the grid or a bunch of solar goes down or something, you can turn on megawatts of power, right away to meet that power load and maintain our grid. And that's one of the reasons the U.S. has such a good stable grid, is we have lots of dams distributed around the country that can use to balance that out. Lots of other technical things I can get into, in terms of frequency and lots of other things like that. But that's the main one. But also too, in terms of frequency. So if the frequency is not right in terms of the power you're getting in, it goes in a little fast or a little slow. It'll literally make, if you have a clock to be plugged in, it would literally make your clock speed up or slow down. So they've always got to maintain the right frequency coming into your house, not just for your clocks, but also all of your other things. So they're built to operate a certain way with that. So that helps out a lot with that too. And these are the sort of steps kind of leading on to that, to get these supporting technologies is what is going to make so much solar and everything else work. Moving away from coal and all that, I think is where you go. It has been amazing, particularly in the U.S. I think that, there's, everybody wants everybody to press a button and change things. What's kind of naturally happened with the progression of more gas being available is that we switched from coal to gas. And by doing that, the U.S. actually was the first country in the world to meet the Kyoto protocols. So I was confused by nobody's ever talked about it or said anything about it at all, but we actually were.
Wow.
We didn't sign up with them and join them, which really annoyed everybody. But this through that innovation and efficiency, again,
Kyoto,
do you mean
Kyoto
Paris?
Protocols?
Do you mean the Paris Accord?
Well, so okay. So the Kyoto Protocol was before the Paris Accord.
That's
so
right.
The Kyoto Protocol was in a treaty signed, which actually a lot of the countries are still honoring and working by, that was signed before the Paris Accord.
That's right.
And
I never heard of Kyoto Protocols.
so
I thought it was a Van Damme movie.
The Kyoto Protocol.
I've seen Kyoto Protocol.
Kyoto, Japan. Yeah. That was actually the first one. That is what everybody was trying to attain, and then they did the Paris Accords, which then stepped that up even further.
To go further.
Yeah.
And we're part of neither.
Yeah.
Great.
No, we're not. But, so lots of our states are, though. So lots of states are taking it on to do it themselves. So there's a bit of a mix, Yeah,
there's a block of states that have a union that are part of the accord still. Yes.
Well, that's a relief.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. No, I think that some of those innovations get misunderstood a lot. I mean, a lot of times things are misunderstood. I think people don't quite understand what a dam is really. So I'm glad we talked about it. Like that. How important they are.
And honestly, they're actually coming out with new turbines now that are, they have a bigger throat at the bottom, so that actually can pass fish through those turbines. So if fish do come through, they can actually shoot their way through and then
At high
just make
speeds.
power, and they're okay. It's
Wow.
one heck of a ride. I'm not sure if I want to take that ride, but they've been doing a lot of studies to see how it handles them and how they're negatively or affected or what happens there. But they are working on ways to get around that. And,
So basically what you're saying is that dams are now a theme park for fish.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly. It's the best roller coaster ride ever.
Man, have you guys been to the Hoover Dam? It's insane.
My family's going to the Hoover Dam this summer.
Yeah. And for the kids who don't, necessarily know what a dam is or what we're referencing, all you got to think of is Frozen 2. The whole thing revolves around a dam that they're trying to keep up to save the city. So there's
except that was a bad example, Jacob, because that was the evil dam that was killing. But they weren't letting any water out.
Oh, you're right. You're gonna have to think of a good dam.
Yeah. The idea, kids, if you're watching Frozen and you think, oh no, dams are the devil, that dam wasn't letting any water come out, and then so it killed the valley.
Right.
There was nothing going. So what you do is with a dam normally. Is you are letting some water out at all times. So there's water coming out. You're stopping it for a while or slowing it down for a while so that you can save a bunch of water, and then you let it out at a controlled rate.
See, that's why we keep you on the show, Noel.
And and if you we've got them up here, but there's a lot of the dams, or most of them, have fish they that are. And I just took a tour, so I can talk a little about this with my daughter's Daisy Scouts.
Nice.
So they Genevieve. So should be happy to hear that. A lot of these dams and systems, they have put in hatcheries to try and keep up with it in terms of collecting a certain number of fish, moving fish upstream, so they can keep moving through the system. It's not perfect. It's not as good as nature is, but, they are starting to catch up with the numbers of fish that used to be around. It's slowly getting there, but they are working on it. And, so there is a lot going on there as well too. So try and overcome that problem and overcome that issue.
Sure.
So before we switch gears to the next type of sustainable energy, you used to tell me, Mike, about all these different other water-based power sources that you'd run into. Like I remember there were like little snakes that could go within the currents of the ocean and things like that. Yeah. So the big, if you will, right now, so the area that we work in is called hydrokinetic energy, right? So it's the idea being is it's water that's moving, but it's essentially flat. I mean, there's a small slope, but it's flowing water through a current, and not where most hydroelectric power we get is where you've actually dammed water up and you have a big fall, and that's what creates a lot of the energy, is that big fall. So in the oceans, there is obviously huge masses of water moving in those currents. And there are a host of companies out there working on different technologies to actually capture that energy. So you have things you've seen that are bobbing up and down. You have things that look like windmills that sit on the bottom that actually spin from those currents with the water flowing through them. They can produce, a lot of energy, particularly out of the slow-moving water that's there. Some of them are faster-moving waters, but on average, it's like, relatively speaking, sort of a slower speed compared to other typical hydroelectric generation. And the thing about the ocean is it is just so brutal. You have to really engineer these things to be able to handle all that power in the ocean. And,
for sure.
If you've ever stood on a beach and felt a wave hit you, it's, if you can imagine that, but now everything, the whole wall, 500 feet high is hitting you. It's just unbelievable.
Right.
And so they're getting better, in terms of that. There's probably, there's some systems out there that are starting to get to that point where they break even, in terms of like they can make the power that can offset other renewable sources or other hydrocarbon sources. So there should be some exciting things happening, within the next 5 years. They should be having some exciting improvements and advancements there.
Cool. That's amazing.
In that area. And, and again, you're looking at like, you can put these across just massive areas. So you can produce, gigawatts of power, just enormous amounts of power.
How many gigawatts did Doc Brown need?
1.1
gigawatt.
1.1 gigawatts.
That's how many gigawatts.
Yes. Gigawatts.
Yeah. I know, it's hilarious that he says gigawatts, and for all of my life, I'm going to correct people from here on out. When they say gigawatts, we say no, it's gigawatts.
It's gigawatts. You got to do whatever Christopher Lloyd chose to do for the movie.
So all right, so now let's go into the one that people know about, that is most popular. There's a lot of drawbacks people don't quite understand, but a lot of positives and a lot of development. Solar. How are we going to make solar work in this country, Mike? How are we going to fix it? I mean, it gets to go.
You fix it, Mike. Mike, fix it.
Like everything, I mean, everything has its positives and its negatives. There's no one silver bullet with overcoming this energy mix, and I think that's one of the things. I think solar's gotten a really good push. I think some other areas could use a good push that I can talk about later. But I think what solar is doing in terms of rooftops, I think the focus, sort of my own, I'm a little hobby horse here. There are just millions of roofs and places of where we haven't utilized, that land that's already taken from the earth that we could put solar panels on. One of my frustrations is when I was a kid, our father used to take us motorbiking out in the desert. In all these areas we used to go motorbiking, most motorcyclists were horrible, and we were just purposely killing desert tortoises. So they shut it all down and they wouldn't let us out there anymore. Well, I've driven through those same areas now, and they're just covered with miles and miles and miles of solar panels, and everything under them dead and gone.
You can't survive under a solar panel if you're a desert tortoise.
Right.
For the record,
they want the motorbikes back. They're like, look,
they can.
Was totally great. I think they've refined that down, but it's just, you replace one thing for another.
Sure.
And there's just a lot of other things you can do. Like one of the things actually we're doing at Helios is we are working with some of our partners, our solar developers in these countries. And so what we're doing is we're putting solar panels over the canals. And so we actually boost the power of the systems where over the canals is generally being cleared out. So that's already gone. Everything's taken. We're covering the area that's already there. You reduce heat radiation on the water, so there's less evaporation, so more water is there to go to the irrigation. There's people who've come up with ideas of windmills, along freeways. Like you could cover a lot of the roads, even if you don't lay them on the ground, but above or on the sides of solar panels, things like that. I mean, that's land that's already taken, and there's thousands and thousands, millions of miles of it around the U.S.
Right. That's where we should be building.
So I think I just think this maybe some, if we're going to follow government pushing certain things, maybe we can just do it in a little bit more practical way in terms of, still getting that benefit, but hey, let's use land we've already taken, let's use the areas that we've already claimed for the humans, and then let's leave the animals alone.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's a giant misunderstanding on the planet right now. I think there's a belief that if it's desert, it's wasteland. It's not. There's nothing there. There's no point. There's no. We don't need it, and that's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's an ecosystem.
Right. I'm not saying we should ride motorbikes on it, though that was fun.
We did enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, but I will say that there are. I mean, there's life there. There's life there, and it's an important part of our ecosystem. It's part of Earth. It's part of the whole plant. It's part of the whole dig. Right.
Yeah.
We can't destroy all of it with solar panels.
Yeah.
And I guess the other part of solar that you're looking for is really what makes it work is batteries, and storage, and the storage of different kinds. And there's a lot of ideas out there that people have come up with. There's what you call kinetic storage. So you have a huge spinning disk that you use the energy to spin it, and it's so heavy it just keeps spinning. And that's energy that's stored in that spinning mass. And that kind of energy, it actually helps balance the grid, like the frequency thing I was talking before. It's particularly good about that, of trying to get the frequency back on.
Fidget spinner energy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's people that they'll pump air into a cylinder to compress air in a cylinder to let that out to spin a turbine to produce power.
Fart energy.
Yep. You've got different kinds of.
I'm on the naming council.
I'll go for another one here. Thermal energy. You can heat things up. or cool things off. So they store energy, they melt salt, and they store energy in melted salt and take it back out. Or the other idea is you cool things off. You make a bunch of ice cubes on top of a building, at the off-peak hours, and use the air-conditioned big buildings during the day. That's another form of energy storage. So there's a lot of different ways and things, ideas that people have out there that are being implemented. Some have had success, some haven't. Really, the batteries, there's lithium ion is the most famous one. There's lots of other chemistries of different kinds of batteries. Sulfur ion. There's a sulfur lithium. Sorry. There's a lot of other different kinds of forms that they're working on. And they all have different benefits themselves. Some can take in different chemistries, can take in lots of power in a short period of time, and they can handle that really well. But they're not good at storing it for a long time. Other ones can take it in slowly, and they're good at storing for a long time, and they can last forever. So there's different kinds of batteries for different kinds of uses, and different kinds of needs as well out there.
Do you think there's anything to the idea of recycling some of these soon to be expiring Tesla batteries by putting them on walls to store?
Yeah, there's some cool stuff where people are taking those batteries, and what'll happen is the batteries are a bunch of little cells, so they're kind of almost like a bit bigger, but if you can imagine about rolls of D-sized cells, and they're lined up, just hundreds of these things.
Yeah.
And so what'll happen is some of those cells will go out, so most of the other cells are actually doing quite well, working quite well, but there's been some short or something that happened in manufacturing or whatever, where them just didn't last as long. So you can actually swap those out, and you end up getting a lot longer life out of them than you normally would think. And so yes, there's different companies. I know there's companies actually doing a lot of those with the Priuses and Leafs and things like that, which have been around a little longer than the Teslas. Some companies have been doing that to make battery packs and walls and things out of. So, but recycling is a big issue. And even one of the downsides of solar is recycling solar. What do you do with the solar panels when you're done with them? I mean, there's all kinds of crazy chemicals holding all that together and the glass together and everything else. And, again, there's positives and negatives looking for that whole life cycle of a product. Like when you buy a product, you're not only paying for the product at the beginning, but, people are going to start having to pay to get rid of those things. Which is, that I know I've talked to a few people about that, and that's a concern. How do we recycle those? How do we get rid of those? We're putting a lot of solar panels up in a very short period of time, which is awesome for renewable energy and that right now. But there's going to be a point in time where all these solar panels are all going to start dying at about the same time, and
they were not created by Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, they're not. Well done, Noel. So like Da Vinci didn't make 400-year-long solar panels.
They've got a 25-year life. So around that time of period, these are all going to start coming off, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with them. So that's another, it's something that's got to be taken into that equation. You can't just throw those in a landfill. You can't just. Yeah. We can't just ship them off to Asia like we've been doing with lots of our other trash.
Just send it to China.
I know. And then they one day were like, guess what? We're not going to do that anymore.
Here's a virus. No, that was terrible. I'm sorry.
And they were like, there you go.
I said a terrible thing.
Oh, it's okay.
You'll hear it later, Jacob.
I'll hear it when I'm editing. We do need to wrap things up because we honestly could talk to Mike forever. But
have we been doing this that long? I'm so sorry. This is an extra long. It's a deluxe version.
It's a deluxe one, but that's okay.
We're going to go Joe Rogan this thing, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know how that guy does that long a podcast. I had a friend who went on it. Well, both Noel and I's friend, Chris D'Elia, and he was on Joe Rogan. And I asked him afterwards, I was like, was that exhausting? And he was like, yes. I just can't imagine going for 3 hours on a podcast. That just sounds like so much. So
it's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, before we get rid of him, we got to do the last of the big ones, right?
The last of
the bigs. All right. So wind energy. What are your thoughts on wind energy?
Yeah, I think it has.
As wind gushes through.
Yeah, it's, the wind of silence. Anything, it has its place. I'm going to throw in some of my personal bias here.
Please do. That's what we're about.
Yeah, man.
I did a recent trip last year. I was lucky enough to go to Austria, to Vienna, and
Cool.
I did a drive. I went north. I went up to the Czech Republic, and the countryside there is just unbelievable. And I was there in it's been spring or fall, sometime in the summer, but the sunflower flowers were out everywhere. They grow them like crazy there. Fields and fields of it, and rolling hills. But in the Austrian side, there's just big windmills everywhere, and you just can, you just sort of notice them all. But as soon as you drive across that border into the Czech Republic, they're gone. And I swear your tension level just kind of like comes down.
Really
interesting.
It's, I just felt
Fascinating.
it. And there's big wind has done amazing things in Texas. Texas is probably one of the leading renewable states in the country now. It's big oil, but I think it might even be, don't quote me on this, but it may even be the leading renewable one, because they've got huge wind farms, out in the desert away from things. But
and in Texas, they're big, I'm sure.
They're huge. Yeah.
The biggest ones.
2 megawatt, 1 to 2 megawatt windmills.
Yeah.
And, but again, it's got drawbacks, like these different, you are taking out, particularly smaller windmills are taking out birds, a lot of birds,
Really?
hundreds of thousands of birds, because you put windmills where the wind is. Well,
That's
the wind's
why.
a free ride for migrating birds, right? Yeah. They kind of follow those paths because they don't have to work so hard. They can ride the wind.
Yeah.
So there's issues with that. I'm actually really impressed with some of the things they're doing in Europe, which we're just starting to catch up with in the U.S. I think they've just permitted the first offshore wind farms, I think, on the East Coast, and they're starting to think about it on the West Coast. You can actually choose, places that are offshore where there's not the migratory birds. There's not so much going on out there. The wind is a lot more consistent, so it's to give you an idea of efficiencies, so like a good solar panel in an ideal condition produces power 25% of the time, and I'm talking about like Arizona in the desert, great condition.
Right.
Okay.
A good windmill, you can get north of 50%, but the average for windmills is actually like 20% or less.
Okay.
So where you put them is also really important in terms of actually getting more efficiency out of them. So you can find these places that are offshore where the wind is blowing a lot more consistently. You've got a lot fewer environmental effects. You have a footprint on the ground because you got to stand them there, but you're not affecting the fish are kind of going to swim by and there's not too much you're going to affect there. Probably a lot of them will actually set up shop and make a reef around them, depending on where you put them. And you're not taking out the birds and things. So again, it's like anything. There's places that it's actually, where it's really good. You get a much better economic benefit and a much better environmental benefit about where you place it and what you do with it. I guess that's kind of the, unintended theme that's come out of this. My conversation here is it's where you put these things and how you use them. There are places where they are really good and there are places where they're just not ideal. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's so much of what we talk about on the show is what is the next environmental problem? What are we creating for ourselves tomorrow? And it's interesting when it comes to renewable energy. And I think it's been a nice theme for this particular podcast is that if we're smart now, if we're responsible with this now, then we can put the right device in the right place and do it the right way so that we don't set ourselves up for a massive problem in the future where we've killed all the birds and all the fish and every one of the lizards and they're all gone because we put these things in the wrong place and did the wrong thing. Yeah. And that's fascinating because it seems like it really is kind of a wholesome effect that we're looking for. Like how can we do this in a way that everybody's winning, that you're getting power where you need it in the different places, and that the amount of efficiency you can get out of that is enough because where it is, it's doing what we need, and it's being supplemented by these other technologies and these other. Yeah.
I mean, fish got a theme park out of the deal.
They got a theme park.
Yes. Yeah. So we need to give the birds and the lizards a theme park. So like, if we're gonna have giant fans, it's got to just be like a whoa, like fly right past it. Like, man, I'm so glad I didn't get caught in that thing. So But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think rolling on to some of the other background and stuff, it's, the gases is super important. I think that's going to be a hydrocarbon that's around with us for a while. That's the thing that you can just turn on that has the lowest environmental impact. You can distribute those around, to help back up the system, back up these grids.
Well, that's a great example of an energy transition solution, isn't it?
Yeah,
right? It's a solution that is available today, and that has an impact that is minuscule compared to other options and compared to fuel oil and coal options that you can turn on immediately.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great, man.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, this has been an excellent episode. We're happy to have you on here. You're very knowledgeable. What we do is we have the guests on to class it up, and then Noel keeps it nice and classy, and then I come in and I bring it right back down that level with fart jokes.
You bring the joy, you bring the hilarity, you bring the everyman.
The everyman. Well, this has been great.
For every woman, Jacob. You bring every woman.
I'm every woman, as the song goes.
I'm every woman.
Well, Mike's here for the tags.
Mike's here for the tags.
He's here for the tags. So I want to see if he knows one off the top of his head. We're going to start out with our first one, which is we've been your beacon of light in a gloomy environment. Mike, do you got one that you remember?
Do I remember?
Yeah.
Even if it's an old one.
Even if it's an old one?
Yeah.
Think about things are nature is awesome. Just look at eggs.
Yeah,
that's it. That's totally it. Is nature is perfect. Look at eggs.
Nature is perfect.
But you did it. You did it, and that is a 2020 tag.
It's a modern tag. You're in it.
Oh, yeah.
We are featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity.
Absolutely, more than just charismatic megafauna.
Tangent, but worth it.
Tangential, but worth it.
That's
a 2019 one. And then our
do we have
latest.
any more from this year?
We do. The latest one this year is Dolphins Don't Quit.
Dolphins don't quit.
Dolphins don't quit, and neither should you.
They don't. Well, this has been fantastic, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And a reminder to our audience, next week is Earth Day. Wednesday, April 22nd is Earth Day. Awesome. There's a lot of really cool tools out there that you can use. There's an amazing app that was sent to us by our friends over at Earthwatch that you should definitely check out. I have had it here a second ago. Where is it? Where are you, you silly goose? It's on my phone somewhere. There it is, EC, Earth Challenge 2020. So you can go out and look for Earth Challenge 2020. It's got some cool things that you can do to check the air quality in your area. And we'll get into that on a future episode, and then also some plastic pollution stuff. But next Wednesday is Earth Day, which is a real big one. It's the 50th anniversary, and they're doing a lot of programs over there to help people still do stuff for the planet, even though we're all indoors.
Here's what we should do.
What?
To celebrate Earth Day, everybody should stay home and don't get out and use a bunch of...
That's a lot to ask, Noel. It's a lot to ask for.
I think we can do it if we just all focus
together
for that one day.
Remember Earth Hour, the whole theory when nobody does anything for an hour and what it would save?
Yeah, right.
Big deal.
Yeah, right. The Earth Hour people are like, man, how do we even convince people that, this is what they're living now? It's like Earth 24-hour hour.
I'm telling you, environmentalists are going to be blamed for COVID-19.
I'm sure.
When it's all said and done.
I know. Well, thanks, guys. We will see you next time on the Biofriendly Podcast. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.